under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good evening, everybody. Hope you had a great day. Just an announcement, the board did have a brief executive session this evening to discuss legal matters. Also, for those in attendance, on the agenda, item 11E, under new business. It is on the agenda, however, there will not be any vote on item 11E tonight. We wanted that to be clear from the beginning. Thank you. Okay, so the first order of business will be the approval of the November 14th, 2023-2024 public budget workshop meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 14th public meeting on the budget.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Jennifer, I'm sorry, Supervisor Jorgensen with the motion, Supervisor Khan with the second. Next item up would be the approval of the minutes of the November 14th, 2023 regular meeting.
Just one question under Citizens Forum. The Camaro, first line there said she would like the township to apply for a grant. Was it for the township to apply or for us to assist the residents in applying?
I think you're correct. She wanted assistance in applying.
Yeah, so the township isn't applying for it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's the only change I saw.
And the board's pleasure is.
I would move to approve incorporating Paul's suggested edit.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, Supervisor Newman. We have a second from Supervisor Khan. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. The next item up will be the Citizens Forum. Again, I just want to remind the audience and those on the phone, the Citizens Forum is for agenda items only. And per last meeting, per Deputy Mayor Khan, we have instituted a 5-minute limitation on comments. Would anybody like to address the board this evening? I'll take that as a no. We will move on. There are no development proposals. Can I get a motion to pay the bills? Are there questions
I'll
on
make
the
that motion to pass to pay the bills.
Second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Khan, a second from Supervisor Jorgensen. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to, being that there's no old business, we'll move on to the reports. Volunteer fire companies.
Nothing for the association. That's it, thank you.
That's it? All righty, thank you. So that would cover the EMS as well. Chief of Police is not present this evening. Take us to code. Yep.
Nothing new there.
Larry is not present. Engineer.
Thanks, your Mayor. Everybody has a copy of my engineer's report, and I was gonna say festive green, but normally I'm always torn between green and red being the holidays, and for those that are colorblind, red and black print do not go together. So anyways, you're stuck with green. So having said that, there are no new development proposals. As far as the Richmond Estates PRD goes, again, the developer started addressing some of the outstanding matters on the list. And at this particular point, as discussed at previous meetings, the road system for Richmond Estates has been taken over by the township. So they'll be providing snow removal and maintenance of that road system, which takes a lot of the burden off of the homeowners association. So there are some cleanup items that are yet to be remain, which still have not been addressed. And obviously the township is still holding $112,500 in performance money. On the courtyards, Hidden Valleys,
Before we go past it, now that we're getting into winter, do they give a time frame on when they think those remain items will be addressed?
so some of them, the majority of them have to do with the 2 detention basins. It's just as far as setting the orifices for those. my guess is that those aren't gonna be done until the spring at this point.
Thank you.
But the detention basins are fully functional. They're gonna do what they were intended to do. And obviously, since the township has not taken over or adopted the infrastructure of that plan, anything that goes wrong with those detention basins still remains in the hands of the developer and not the township. On the courtyard at Hidden Falls, they've now continued to put in the sidewalks in that particular plan. In addition, they're eliminating a section of storm sewer that we caught that was running underneath one of the house foundations. So that has now been removed. The development is more than 80% complete, so at this point, actually, they could petition the township to take over the road system too, but we'll let them approach the township. Harwood Meadows PRD, if you've been out of that system, the roadway was completely paved on November 13th, 2023. In your packets, later on under new business, there'll be a request to reduce the performance bond from $1,593,900 down to $593,400 at this point. The Foxwood Trails, the Blue Run Road, as well as Indiana Trails, there's no further development on those particular projects. The Harmony and Harts Run, we need to make another visit out to the auto site plan. Again, the township is still holding $642,200 in performance money from the Harmony and Harts Run and $51,200 of performance money for the auto site plan. So we do owe them a visit.
I have a quick question.
Yes?
Who gets to collect the interest on these bonds? I mean, is that like accrued just to that bond?
Depends on the form of the bond. If it's a cash bond,
Just wondering, we've held that stuff for so long through high interest.
It's a good,
I don't know, I'm just.
it's too bad we couldn't invest it in stocks and.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I'm just curious, I mean, that just stays into that little pot and then if they perform, they get to use it?
Right, they're required, again, they're, over time, they're required to increase the bond depending
Okay.
on the estimate, so it's their, I mean, basically, it's their money, we don't make money on it, right?
Yeah.
It's their money, to guarantee the performance, and if at any point, as time goes on, there's times where we will, they'll seek a reduction, it might not be as much as they want,
Yeah.
because, the engineer feels that it needs to be a higher amount, so, well, the interest is, if it's cash bond, it's not, if it is our, it's not our.
Yeah, it's just an escrow.
Yeah, we get it,
money.
we get it increased for other reasons regarding.
Just curious, thanks.
Not a problem. The Ottawa Hills Sewer Rehab, I gotta meet with the manager and Larry and sort out a couple of the items there. MS4, any report, the next one's due September 28th, 2000, that should be a 24, not 23. On the zoning ordinance, there was no developments for this month, so the planning commission has been, is not being held this month, but in January, during reorganization, I'm sure we're gonna pick up on that item and start answering some of the questions that the supervisors have asked us to respond to. On the 2023 paving project, there's still some outstanding items there, so I'm not ready to recommend full final payment of that. On the Emerald Park ADA sidewalk project, we just got an email from North Hills COG today asking for some additional information, which we will respond to tomorrow. And hopefully that'll secure another grant for the township. On the Emerald Park ADA sidewalk, when the bids were taken for that project, again, later on in the agenda, under new business, we'll be requesting a motion to accept the bid from A. Felino Construction, the amount of $50,500. And just for the board's information, is since you only secured a grant for $40,000, what we're gonna be doing is reducing the project scope through a unit price bid proposal and basically utilize just the grant money for the amount of sidewalk that we can build, so that way the net cost to the township is zero. And then finally, the salt shed, Larry and I are working on that, but we'll be getting into that more like March of next year. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dan. We will move on to the solicitor,
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report this evening.
and the manager. And
one thing I would add is that anyone coming in this evening noticed it's a little dark in the parking lot. We've had an issue with the parking lot lights. We do have an electrician that's working on that. There's a number of bad fixtures, bad bad bulbs, and, we're gonna get that taken care of before long, this next week or two.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Ken?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Parks and Recs, nobody here from Parks and Recs, nobody here from Historical, nope. Supervisors, District 1.
Just a question for Dan. We had talked earlier about getting together with the county, the chief, and the residents up on the hill to meet with the county to talk about their plans for Heartwood, the wedding venue in
Yes.
January. I forgot all about it being an election year and it's gonna be a new
I
administration
was
there.
wanting to do that right after the swearing in, and I know who the new
But, okay, so we,
county manager's gonna be, and,
okay, so we can
and
still do it
staff.
in January, February timeframe?
yeah, once
Okay,
we know
fine.
who those players are gonna be, we'll make sure we get together and we can all discuss it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's it.
Okay, District 2.
I'd like to say that the paving project that the county finally completed on Dorseyville Road has been a tremendous improvement on the situation. It was interesting to see that when they scraped off the top layer of pavement, most of the potholes disappeared. So obviously the problem was that light paving they did a few years ago.
Yes.
At this time, they put down 2 layers of pavement and looks like it's been, it looks very nice. It's a lot better to drive on, so appreciate that getting done. And also the bridge is finished, so the Dorseyville Road is once again ready for use by the citizens all the way down to Route 8, so. Okay, and that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, thank you. District 4. Sarah?
Nothing to report, but I did have a question for Dan, and you may not have this information available. But I was wondering about vacancies and appointments for our committees for January reorganization, and
I put the
and
letter,
what that was.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah, you have the floor, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering what that looks like, and if we're seeking any folks for positions, and and what that looks like for 2024.
I'll restate the question for those in the room. The question is about vacancy appointment for 2024. And what's the process, and are we speaking to anybody, was what Supervisor Hartnick said.
Yeah, all the current appointees that are up for reappointment have all received a letter from me asking for whether or not they want to continue to serve. I don't have all those responses in as of yet. I do anticipate a resignation or two. I know, at least on Historical Commission, we'll be losing a long-time member, Michael Massour, that I'll get that information provided to all of you when I do know of any vacancies that exist. I have received a number of them that said they want to be reappointed. You know, Mr. Grego, it's been on the zoning hearing board for a long time with Dickie McCamey. Law firm has been a great service on the zoning hearing board, so we're fortunate to have him willing to be reappointed, so that's where it is right now.
Sarah, did you get all that? And do you have any other
Yes.
comment?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nothing else? Okay, we'll move on to District 5.
Like Al, I was really excited about the new improved Dorseyville Road, but, you know, it feels like we're finally at an end. I mean, Al, we share Indianola, that seemed like kind of minor, but that was still some pretty big work.
Absolutely.
And that whole junction between Indianola and Dorseyville is kind of like the heart of a lot of my territory, and, you know, I don't know if we're at a point where we can do a retrospective, but I feel like we're close, and I mean, when we look at it, you know, coming up to the supervisor level, I didn't get many complaints, and a lot of stuff was handled by the township itself, so I just want to thank Dan and everybody else for sort of having the patience to coach everyone through, and we're finally getting to the point where we said we'd get to, so.
I would point out on Dorseyville Road, we had the one gentleman, Mr. Frost, who, when they milled the road, and there was quite a time in between when they milled and whenever they were able to put the final wearing course, he was getting significant water runoff. And he was unable to, he did not want to go online to register the complaint with the county. He wanted to show me in person and have us do it. So when he showed me, I took the pictures and I went online to the county's website and registered the complaint for him. And I was impressed. The county got back, letting me know they got the information and they addressed it with Mr. Frost. The county public works superintendent stopped at his house and made sure that he was satisfied when they did the final wearing course. And they followed up with me afterwards to let me know that they did that, which was very impressed with their system that they were able to respond to that, like that from the county, so.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Appreciate the personal touch.
Hey, Dan, do you know if the county allow us to reclaim the millions? Are we using those for like Cedar Run and?
We
some
have
other-
taken what we can get in the past, and we have done exactly that. If you see the stockpile, that's,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And we're gonna need it again, and we're gonna need to do the
That
dust
seems to
control
be holding
again.
up really well up there.
Yeah, and adding that dust control a second time,
Yeah.
a third time, will only really improve those roadways.
I don't wanna take anything away from Cedar
Yeah.
Run, but Old Mill seems a little thin. I don't know if you take a look at that.
That'll be next.
All right.
That'll be on the list,
Not
right?
a District 1 versus 5.
I have had yeah,
Over the millings. So,
same issue.
all right,
It's all the same issue.
all right, thanks, Dan.
Anything else, John?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right, and then last but not least, District 3, wanted to mention, I do want to thank the entire board as well as everybody's work, going back to May 10th of 2022, when we worked on the new Saldo together. It was instrumental in having the ability to take over the road system early before our plan is officially taken over, and that we were able to do for Richmond and the residents, where they're not gonna have to pay for plowing this year. So, thank you to everybody. And that's all I have.
I'd like to make a motion then to approve the foregoing reports.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Supervisor Khan with the motion, Supervisor Jorgensen with the second. Correspondence, Dan, would you
We
like?
just have the one correspondence from Range Resources regarding the Fraser Township Tree James modification.
Any comments, any questions on it? Otherwise, we'll move on to new business.
Yeah, Mayor, the first item is the possible approval of the bid results for the Emily Park ADA sidewalk project. You have this before you.
Board had a chance to review.
After reviewing it, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Emmerling Park ADA sidewalk project as was reported by the engineer.
I will go ahead and second that motion. Supervisor Khan with the motion, myself as the second. Any further discussion?
I would mention that that's Eighth Lena Construction, in the amount of $50,500 is the low bidder.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Just a general question, more for, Mr. Slagle. On these bids, there are 6 bids in before us, range anywhere from 50,500 to 102,000. Do you know what, that seems to be a wide spectrum of bid.
You want me to explain how this works?
It just,
Sure.
it just seems to be a huge.
So the way it works is, if you look where the sweet spot is in the bids, I'm gonna say that the true bid for this project was $80,000.
It seems to be where most of them are in that area.
Well, it's kind of like a bell curve,
Mhm.
so at the top of that bell curve, it's about the $80,000. The $102,000 said, you know what, I paid $50 for the plans and specs, I'm just gonna throw my hat at it. So that was, shoot and wish. The $50,500 guy, he made a mistake, which is why he's the low bidder. So in the world of public bidding, I'm not saying we prey on people that make mistakes, because we do pride ourselves on putting out a quality specification that is as clear as possible. But sometimes in the bidding process, someone may leave a little bit of money on the table, somebody may need the work, sometimes they want winter work. You don't really know what the circumstances are, but I'm very thankful that the bid was $50,500.
But based upon that mistake that was made, can they pull that off for $50,000?
Yeah, can we just clarify, it's, when Mr. Slagle says they made a mistake, they didn't
Right.
formally make a mistake, right? That's a whole different element of law. So if somebody makes a clerical error on their bid, right?
They make the low bid.
They, like, in other words, they accidentally, oh my goodness, it was 100,000, I meant 10, or, you know, I bid 10,000, I meant $100,000, and they show you that it's a clerical mistake, they have a right to withdraw their bid and they get their bid bond back.
Good,
When he's saying it's a mistake, he's more saying like they could have gotten more, it's a colloquial term, not the legal.
Okay, so that was my
terminology.
concern, that if they, okay, go ahead.
They're bound to,
Clarification.
they're bound to this number, this, and, you know, I'm sure they'll do it for it, but that's the rationale for it.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
What our solicitor said.
Okay, well, thank you both for additional clarification. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Next item?
The next item, Mayor, is as the engineer covered under his report, is the possible reduction of the Heartwood Meadows Phase 4 bond. And that is reflected in his report. And that's reducing the performance bond from $1,593,900 down to $593,400.
Is that a clerical error, Dan?
No.
That's precise engineering. Almost to the pen.
Okay,
Engineer is not making-
I'm gonna make a motion to approve, the partial reduction in the Heartwood Meadows Phase 4, bond, because this is a significant reduction in it, but we hold the bond for them to complete certain items, and the biggest of those items, paving, grading for the roadways, grading for the drainage and all that stuff, has been completed, so they certainly are eligible to have that bond reduced.
And just for the board's information too, is that we carry a contingency of 10% above what we think it would take to complete it. That being is that if the township did want to complete the project, we would be bound by public law to publicly bid it. So there'd be a cost in there to prepare plans and specifications to publicly bid it. So all those costs would be included, you know, if the developer defaulted.
Okay, so we do have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Khan, second from Supervisor Jorgensen. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to the next item.
Next item, Mayor, excuse me, is the possible approval of the 2024 Indiana Township budget. That budget that we covered in detail at the workshop, and you authorized advertisement of, has been posted both online and the advertisement's been run. Total budget for 2024 of $7,635,670. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or cover any of the funds if anybody has anything they'd like to cover at this time before you take action.
I make the motion to approve the 2024 budget.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion from Supervisor Jorgensen, a second from Supervisor Khan. Any further discussion on the budget? All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody, and it really feels good for several years in a row now to have a budget that was authorized to advertise as presented and approved unanimously by the board. I really appreciate all of your efforts, and thank you for
And
that.
another year without a tax increase.
Yeah, that's always helpful.
That's very helpful.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes. Next item?
Next item, Mayor, is the possible approval of resolution 2024-10. You have a notice from Morella and Associates Attorneys for Seneca EMS notifying us of the liquidation and dissolution of Seneca EMS, and all remaining assets are being transferred to Westier EMS. Westier EMS has their executive director here this evening, and I'd like to ask for your approval of acknowledging that they'll be dissolving and transferring their assets to Westier, and they've been working together for some time now. And so that we continue to have that Seneca service area covered by Westier now, I'd like you to approve resolution 2024-10, that is simply changing the current Seneca EMS service area to Westier EMS and keeping Lower Valley EMS the same as it's currently in the township. So,
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2024-10. sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
You're
That
good,
is
you're
a,
good, you're good.
I was
another
reading it
mistake
off
on
the
the-
it's right on the
sorry,
resolution.
2023-10, reorganizing or recognizing West Deer EMS and Lower Valley EMS as the official medical responders. This is something that we're having, or they're having lots of problems finding personnel, funding, and so forth. So when some of these smaller EMSs join with the bigger ones and so forth, we have to be able to respond to that. And I would like to thank the people involved in this for doing a smooth transition.
Yes, Lower Valley and West Deer have been working together for some time. We started out working, actually, it was Lower Valley, West Deer, Seneca, and Foxwell. But in a short period of time, we've seen a lot of change. And I want to thank Terry from Lower Valley also for helping us through this. I appreciate all your efforts.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. I'd like in the coming year, early January, for us to all sort of get together, West Deer and Lower Valley, and just have a meeting and figure out how we can best help you guys sort of, figure out how everything's reconfigured. Because Dan said,
They are interested in talking about changes to the service area, and I think between us, we can work those things out in the short term.
yeah. So fair warning, if I run around the podium, your direction after the gavel. It's a good sign.
Very well.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion out there. We have a second? I'm gonna go ahead and make the second. Supervisor Khan with the motion, Supervisor Crawley with the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Possible consideration of the supplemental findings, as we discussed earlier, will not be considered this evening, so that allows us to move on again to the citizens forum for the non-agenda items, Mayor.
Okay, we have Ms. Owens on the agenda for the non-agenda items.
Paradox.
Yes.
That's not unusual. I'm Nadia, 129 Bruno Drive, and I did not prepare a report tonight as I had hoped to. I ended up getting COVID instead. So I'm planning to prepare that report for January, hopefully. I did get a chance to speak to Mr. Khan, Supervisor Khan, about what you are looking for and what information would be helpful for the township. I also spoke to Supervisor Newman on the same lines. I want to point out, as I usually do, we have 12 people here in the room. We have 4 people on the live stream. So that's a pretty significant number of additional people who are able to come in because of the availability of the live stream. I also wanted to clarify too that what I'm talking about for communication improvement is not just the live stream. It's additional items like text notifications, email notifications, notifications of public hearings and other items of note, including, that the roads are open back up. I understand the changes that are coming to the website and they've been welcomed, but those are notifications that come when you go to the website versus having this information be pushed out to you. And it's a change that I think would be welcomed. People have expressed a desire for that. So more forthcoming. And my ask here tonight is that when I bring that report to you, that you will read it and consider it and publicly discuss what is shared, so that the citizens can understand why or why not you're moving forward with this, especially since it has been something that's been asked for by not just me. I mean, this is evidenced by the fact that people are showing up on the live stream and asking for more direct communication with you. That's all I have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nate,
Thank
can
you
I
for your comment.
just ask you, if you do come forward with a report that has multiple recommendations, it might be good to just sort of break those out into individual items that we could maybe vote on separately rather than the whole thing up or down. That just might be, from my perspective, that might be.
Yeah, my goal is actually to provide information about the options that are out there what other similarly situated townships, both in Pennsylvania and in other states, are doing, the risks to increased communication, the benefits, the costs. I'd like to really give you some comprehensive information so that you can look at it and make a well-informed decision.
May I ask you one question, please? Just the four, you mentioned obviously the room and then four that are on the meeting at this moment, correct?
Yeah.
Do you know, or do you have the ability to find out how many of those four live in Indiana Township? I'm just curious.
I'm just gonna throw this out here. I don't know too many people who would kind of spend their Tuesday night at 7 o'clock listening to our esteemed Board of Supervisors give their reports if they didn't have a stake in the community. And so the answer is no. I could probably look and see, you know, some information about what, because this is on Facebook, what Facebook user is watching. And then I could look and see if they are in Indiana Township. But the thought that people outside of our township are spending their evening with us is a little extreme.
Maybe a distinct possibility, but
I
maybe you
mean,
can
are we,
find that out and
like,
bring that back.
And
We'd
if
be glad
they
to hear.
were, what is the concern? I'm just curious.
We'd like to know if it's our residents or not. So if you can compile that,
Yeah.
all the better.
And
Just
actually,
curious.
if you have some evidence that other people are coming in, that would be appreciated. We can add it to the report.
As a person who utilizes the live stream and will go back to rewatch or re-listen to parts of our meetings for clarification on certain things, most of the people that I see in here are all residents that I know or know of personally. They're all township residents. I've never seen somebody from Fox Chapel, O'Hara, or elsewhere. Yes.
And aside from just the four tonight, it might be good if you do have that information that Darren's interested in, just what the sense is demographically, who tunes in and whether it's repeat customers or whatnot, because we want to know what the demand is for it, so just something to think about.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Ms. Simmons. Okay, that brings us to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn, does anyone else?
Anyone
Nope.
else?
My apologies. Anybody else like to address the board this evening?
Sorry, I'm also recovering from the flu here. Brandis Miller, 2022 Olive Tree Drive. I just noticed on the engineering report that you said you did a follow-up inspection on 823 and issued a new final matters letter. And I was just wondering if the area of my property that experienced a landslide that's supposed to be forested, that is marked as a reforestation area that does not have trees, is on that list?
Yes,
Thank you.
I haven't forgotten about you.
Thank you for your comment. Would anybody else like to address the board this evening? If not, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion from Supervisor Khan, a second from Supervisor Jorgensen. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you and good evening, everybody. Happy holidays.
Any counters? Derek, counters?